The following episode of Dad vs. Daughter was made possible by a contribution from Miniature Market. Buy this game or any one of over 6,000 games at a great price from miniaturemarket.com.
New Frontiers, the Race for the Galaxy board game, is the latest installment in the Race for the Galaxy series. Now, that begins with the Race for the Galaxy, the card game originally. Then we have Roll for the Galaxy, which is one of my favorite games of all time. And we have Jump Drive, which is sort of similar, but I actually like it a lot better than the Race for the Galaxy card game. But New Frontiers basically takes this concept and puts it into an actual board game format. Now, there's a lot of similarities between this and Roll for the Galaxy. I do like the fact that they also use the same artwork, so everything kind of feels like it's all connected and together. So let me kind of show you how the game is played, and then we're going to watch Dad and his friends play through a turn, and then we're going to tell you what we think. So check it out. Setup is going to be determined by player count. So you'll see I've got the two main boards here. We've got the larger development tiles at the top, and we have the smaller development tiles down at the bottom. Now, the difference other than size is the fact that these all cost 9, whereas these cost anywhere between 1 and 5 credits. Now, you'll also notice that these are twice the size of the smaller ones. And there's a reason for that, and I'll get to that in a minute. You'll also notice that we have all of these tiles with this side up that has the little white dot on there. And that is the recommended setup for your first and few games that you play. Now, I also want to point out that all of the development tiles on this side, they're only single-sided. But all of the development tiles over here are double-sided. So after you played a few games, then you can switch these up. You can mix them up however you want. You'll know that, like I said, you'll always use this side for these development ones, but you've got a lot of variety in what you want to do by using the back sides of that one. There are 8 different player boards, and you'll see these are quite large. So what we're going to do is we're going to shuffle these up, and we're going to hand out one to each player. Now, I do want to point out that these are double-sided. So you can see on this side we have Old Earth, which has a consume power. But on the back side here, we have the Abandoned Mine Squatters, and this actually will provide 1 military. So based on the route you want to take, whatever strategy, if you want to go peaceful or if you want to go military, might determine which side that you want to go. Now, talking about this player board, you have an area for your colonists, money, and victory points. Now, the game also comes with 2 colors, or 2 discs with player colors. So you'll see we have purple here and we have purple down there. So it says you can place your second disc here just to remind yourself which color you are. Now, in a 2-player game, you'll actually use both of those on the player order track. And you can see that I've got this randomly set up with me going first and my friend Hefe going last. That's just kind of how it worked out, you know. So when you take your turn, basically what you're going to do is you're going to move your disc forward a half a spot. And then the player is going to be able to choose from one of these actions down here below. Now, if you're the first player that takes the action, you may or may not get a bonus. And the bonuses will show in this lighter colored area. Now, only the person who took that roll gets that bonus. Everyone else then would be able to get the action that's in the gray. Now, once that player's turn is over, then you just go ahead and you move the disc all the way into the next spot. And then the next player would go and do the same thing. So now let's talk about these different actions that we have. Now, on a player's turn, when they take this action, they'll simply just kind of slide it down to show that that action has already been taken. And then once the turn is over, then they all get reset back up just like this. So let's talk about what each one of these does. Retreat into isolation simply just gives 2 money. Development says you may build one of the development tiles, but the bonus is that whoever took that action gets to do it at a -1 cost. Explore lets you take 7 planets from the big bag, and then what they're going to do is they're going to look at each one of those. They're going to take, the first person is going to take 1. So So you can see I've got 7 here. So they're going to decide which one of these that they want to keep. And let's just say that they want to take this alien defense system. And then they're going to pass this in player order to the next player. And then once all players have done that, then it comes back around to the player who took that action. They get to select one more from whatever is left over. And then you'll notice down here at the bottom it says that you're going to return any of the unpicked planets back into the bag. On settle, you actually get the bonus first. Whoever took that action is going to get a colonist, because you'll notice that on each one of the planets that we're going to be doing, it'll have a colonist cost as well as either a military or a monetary cost. So sometimes planets only take 1 colonist, sometimes they take 2. But you'll notice on the settle, whoever took that action is going to be able to get a colonist first, so that's very beneficial. Now, the second part that everybody can do is they can either take 2 colonists, or they can settle one of the planets on their development board. Or they can settle one of the planets that they have on their board. Next, we have produce. And what we're going to do is on all of the settled planets that we have on our board, we're going to put one of the goods cube of that color. And you'll see that these are like really cool looking. You can see these are nice, big, chunky blocks. So we're going to put those on each one of our worlds that produces. Now, I'll talk about that because that can be a little confusing at times. And there is this reference card that comes here. So you'll notice that any planets that simply have just kind of a halo around those are called windfall planets. Now, when those are first settled, they will get a good automatically produced on there. But that's the only time that they're ever going to get a good unless you have a power. Down here at the bottom, you'll notice that these are all filled in with color. These are the ones that will produce every time someone takes that produce action. So then you'll take a cube and you'll put it on each one of those planets. Now, when you are the person that did the produce action, you also will be able to do a produce on a windfall planet that you already have. If no one takes the produce action, you're going to put $1 credit on that, and then that's going to build up over time as long as nobody takes that action. And then whoever does take that action will get all the credits that are on there. Trade and consume, you're going to get a bonus of 1 victory point to start off with. And then you can sell one of the goods on one of your planets, and you'll get the money based on the type of good that it is. So you'll see that we have the novelty good. They're cheap ones. They only cost $1. Rare ones will get you $2 or credits. The genes, which are the bigger green cubes, they're going to get you 3 credits. And then the alien will get you 4 credits. Now, why the rare doesn't get you the most, because it's the rarest? Yeah, I don't know. That seems to be a little oxymoron there, but we're going to go with it. And then finally, we have the send diplomatic envoys. And what that means is you're going to get top priority and you're going to get a victory point. So let's just say that blue, move these up here. Let's say blue decided to take that. Blue would then move from back to front. And you'll notice that nobody else gets any action. So then at the end of the turn, we simply just move all those back. Now, one thing I do want to point out when we're talking about doing turn orders, so let's just say that these 2 guys have already gone, and it is time for purple to do their action. The next player that gets to go and follow that action, provided there is one, is not blue, but it is red. So it goes from basically behind here down to the end and then wraps itself back around. So in this case, because green just went, if there's an action that can be followed by purple or on purple's turn, then green will actually be the last one to act. This player aid board shows you how to do the setup. You're going to use 12 colonists per player. You're going to use 12 victory points per player. The first player is going to get 3 credits to start. In a 2 or 3 player game, the last player is going to get an extra credit. And in a 4 or 5 player game, the last 2 will get an extra credit. And then down here shows what you're going to use as far as the number of developments. And then when I flip this over to the back side, it's going to show you this is where you're going to put your colonists. And when you get down to 4 or less, that's going to be an in-game condition. Keeping on topic with the in-game condition, whenever you run out of the starting victory point tokens, then that's also another trigger. And then remember this player board when I was showing you earlier, you'll notice that there are 2 red spots here. So whenever anyone completes 10 developments, that's going to trigger the end, or whenever they have 7 settled worlds. And you'll notice there's spots for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you also get this one, and you'll see that there is a little line there to show that when you hit that or you go past that, that's going to be an endgame condition. Now remember when we took that explore action, we got to choose one of the worlds that we wanted. Now you'll notice that these are double-sided, so one side is kind of grayed out and then the other side is more colorful. So when you do that explore action, when you take this world, you're going to be placing it over here in that spot, and you'll have the gray side up. That's to show that it is explored but not settled. Now when you settle it by paying its cost, you're going to flip it over to the colored side and you're going to place it over here. Now you'll notice that there are only X number of slots available, so that shows you how many worlds that you can actually have at one time. If you ever get to the point where you have no more slots for any of the new worlds you've got coming in, any of your unsettled worlds, you can discard those and put the new one in its slot. But you can only ever have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 worlds on your board at any one time. Now, as soon as you settle a world and you have that on your player board, you may get immediate benefits. Now, this one is going to tell you, it says settle, you may remove 1 alien technology good, 4 + 3 military. So some of these are going to happen when you take certain actions. Others are going to trigger on specific events. I do want to point out that this is going to be worth 2 victory points at the end of the game, and this is a production world. Now, just for comparison, I'm going to show you Retrofit and Salvage Incorporated. Now, you'll notice this is a production world, and this does require 2 colonists. And it says after you develop a tile, you're going to gain $1. So anytime you actually do the development, you're going to get $1 there. And it does have this as iconography here, but it's also nice that they have that down below. You can see that's also going to only be worth 1 victory point. So putting that next to the other here, you can see this is going to require 4 military in order to settle that world. Now that I've given you an overview on the rules of the game and the setup, let's watch Dad and his friends play through a complete round, and I think that's going to give you a really good idea how New Frontiers is played. So check it out. All right, we are ready to start another round here. We look at the player order track. I'm actually first to act, so I think what I will do is I am going to explore. So what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and we'll pull that one back to show that that role has been taken. I have an ability that gives me a colonist whenever I explore. So I'll just take 1 off of the board there, and he will go on my board. You get to take the magic bag, pull 7 of the worlds out, and then I get first choice of these, and then after everybody has taken one, I will get another choice. And I did not get any that I was winning. All right, so I am going to choose this Uplift Alliance. This is a military world, so you can see it's got a defense value of 4. So then we look and see who is next on the turn track, and that would be Chris.
Yep. And I already saw what I wanted to take. So, to you, sir.
Oh, thank you.
And I have an ability that allows me to draw 1 world from the bag after I pick.
Well, thank you for grabbing the good planets. Let's see here.
What are you crying about? I get last pick.
Consume 1 good.
Actually, I get last pick, but I got first pick.
We shall
So
take
he's first and last, it's
the prosperous world, and back to you, Jeff.
Garbage.
Yeah, exactly.
Garbage. That's the biggest bang for the
Who
buck
drew
here.
those?
That
I
one.
did. I was
yeah.
not real happy with my draw.
So that's 2 victory for every Imperium tile you have.
Yeah, so look for the purple
I got
word
one.
Imperium.
I do have one, so this would give me 2. That's not horrible if I can settle it. Okay. Let's go that direction.
Back to Tim.
And let's see, which one do I like the most? I don't like either one of these. That's why I passed them to you guys. I guess I'll take that one. All right.
Okay.
So the remaining ones that were not taken go back in the bag. So now we move on. It is Chris's turn.
We're going to trade consume. Does that take a victory point?
Because he's the only one that had stuff. Oh, you do.
I think several
Tim's
of us.
got one.
Unfortunately, it's not as good as I'd like, but so it's $3 for green plus 2 plus 3 for my bonuses. And then I can. No. I can consume for 3. So I will get 2 victory points for $3.
Okay, well, I am going to also trade. I have one of the jeans goods, so I'm going to get $3 for that. However, I have a couple tiles here that says I gain plus $1 when I trade a good. I also have another that says plus 2 when you trade a good, so I'll get another plus 2. And then you said I must consume if I have that keyword anywhere.
Yep.
But you don't have any goods left.
So I can't consume one good here, but this one says, but it says may consume $3 for $2. But does that mean
That's an optional.
Yeah,
That's an optional?
That's a little different.
Yeah, I think I will still do that. So I'll burn $3 for 2 points, please, sir.
There you go.
Thank you. And I'll color these up.
Hefe.
I think I'm going to settle.
No, now your turn. Are you?
Oh.
So you are consuming, you're trading and consuming.
He has
He has no
nothing.
goods.
No?
No good.
All right, I will trade, and that will get me $4.
All right. My
No,
turn.
No, it's
Yeah.
James's turn.
My
now,
turn.
now we'll take my turn in front of James.
As usual. I think producing just helps everybody.
That's all right.
No,
There's
like
no
that.
shame in that.
But let's do it. Let's do the produce action, please, sir. You sure there wasn't $1 on
There
that?
was
for
not
this?
$1 on there.
All right, fine.
When you produce, you get to produce on all of your production worlds, and if you have the, it is the terraforming specialists allow you to produce on a windfall colony that has no good.
So I do have 2 of my planets that say gain $2 when you produce on this colony. So I'm going to gain 2. I'm going to grab a 5, put 1 back. In addition, I have the Pan-Galactic League, which says produce, gain 1 for each genes colony in your empire, which I have 4. Is that correct?
3. The green.
Oh, it's just the green.
Yeah, jeans
Okay.
are green.
Okay. So I'll
Green
gain.
jeans.
I'll
Just
gain
green
tray.
jeans.
I'll grab 3 for that. All right.
Counting flowers on the wall. Watching.
All right, now it's your turn.
Okay.
Now I will settle.
Now you will settle.
So I get -1 for rare elements and -2 for a development. So it's only going to cost me 1 to settle this guy. Plus, I get with the settle, I get a dude, right?
Yes, you took the action, so you get the
that
bonus.
gives, so give me my bonus, dude. And I'll throw him on there.
Bonus, dude.
Guess flip this over.
Do you only settle 1 planet at a time?
Yes.
You can't do 2. Okay.
No, not without a special ability, which I don't think are up on this game.
All right, so you're good?
I'm
Okay.
good. I'm good.
I will settle this with my 4 military, and that is my 7th planet. So at the end of this round, the game will be over.
Which is effectively now because I settled. And
He was the last one.
did you settle?
No, but
Okay, sorry.
knowing that, I shall settle the one that gets the most points. It's going to cost me 5, but okay. No, it's going to cost me 5. So that'll go here, and I will burn 5.
Okay.
So that-
Now, since I know you're all probably dying to know which of us won the game, we're going to come right back after we tally the points, and we're going to let you know. All right, so first-time player James ends up with 36 points. Hefe ends up with 36 points. I ended up
That's the
with
one I couldn't
34,
develop. That would have broke the tie.
and Chris ends up with 32. Now, the tiebreaker is the number of goods and money, and Jeff has neither. So James wins the tiebreaker. Hopefully watching us play through that round gave you a really good idea for how the game is played and kind of the flow and the tempo of how things go. So now let's get to what we think. As I've mentioned before, I was never a fan of the original Race for the Galaxy card game. However, I loved Roll for the Galaxy, and I really liked the quickness of Jump Drive and the fact that we were able to play that over lunch. Now, New Frontiers, I kind of went in with high expectations because of Roll and the fact that it was kind of a board game version. And I want to say that my expectations were actually exceeded in this case. I really enjoy New Frontiers. This has been a lot of fun to play. All my plays of it have been just a little over an hour long. So the game doesn't feel like it's overstaying its welcome. It actually feels like it's playing super fast. And with everybody being able to take actions for the most part on everyone else's turn, there's really not a lot of downtime. Now, this game has got just a ton of replayability. So, like I had mentioned earlier, we've got all of these development tiles, and the big ones up there are double-sided. So you're going to be able to mix and match those. We've got the 8 player boards that are double-sided. So the fact that you're dealing these out and the fact that you can use either side, I think is a major plus. And then look at the stack of worlds that we can go after. I mean, there's just an incredible amount, and there's so many different strategies you can try to do. Now, granted, it's going to be what the game gives you as far as, you know, the worlds that you have available that you can explore and then settle, and then going for the different types of developments. And this is one thing that my buddies had pointed out, because they've played the game each time I have, so we all have the same number of plays in. And we're just now getting very comfortable with what the actual developments are, which ones we need to go for based on our strategies. So that's made each play, each successive play, that much richer in our opinion. Now, component-wise, the cardboard is nice and thick. The bag that the worlds go into is nice and big, and you can see it's got a big opening there. The only problem that we have is that these in the bag tend to get like this at the bottom of the bag. So we always make sure that whenever we stick our hand in there, we try to shuffle those up and get a good mix there. The components for the discs are themselves, these are nice wooden ones. They're colorful. There's green and blue, so that's always a plus. The development tiles fit nice on the player board, and you can see you've got the spots outlined for them, so that's nice. The cubes, now these are just ridiculous. Just showing these off again. They didn't have to go this route. They could have had just wooden, colored cubes, but the fact that they went, and have these big chunky plastic pieces. Now, granted, that has probably increased the cost of the game as far as the MSRP, but these are great. I really, really dig that. Now, they didn't, like I said, didn't have to do that, but really grateful that they did. There is one small production problem I have, and I don't know if I can find them or not, but some of the colonists, their legs are broken off, and it kind of looks like they're praying. I had a few, and I noticed in a few of my other buddies' copies that it was the same way with them. So I'm not really finding them. There was only a couple that I noticed. And of course, I'm not finding them when I want to show you on camera here. But I mean, that's really a minor thing. So these are nice wooden components. You'll notice these are basically about the same as what is in Roll for the Galaxy. Other than the legs looking like they were not cut right when the game was in production. That's really the only negative that I've had about this entire game, was just that. Everything else I think is top notch. Now, as far as my friends go, most of them have really liked this. There was one of my buddies who, while he said he would play it, is probably not something that he's going to ask for. I had another buddy of mine who said that he did not like race or roll for the galaxy because he thought that trying to do the dice behind the screen, that got to be a little thinky, and he seemed like he was getting bogged down with that. He said this was a lot easier, and he really enjoyed this more than roll. Really, for myself, I need to go back and play roll and figure out how this fits in with that. Can't really compare it to Jump Drive or even the original Race for the Galaxy card game, because to me this doesn't feel like that. Having the tiles and putting them on the player board, it gives you a different feel. One of the other big pluses that I think I've mentioned before is the fact that they use the same artwork across all of the Race for the Galaxy and Roll for the Galaxy, all those games in the series, and I find that to be a big plus. I also think that the abilities on the developments and some of the worlds are the same as what's in Roll and the original Race for the card game. So that is definitely a plus. Anyone I think that's familiar with Race for the Galaxy card game or Roll for the Galaxy or even Jump Drive, they're going to be able to, I think, jump right into this. So if you like those games, definitely pick this up. I think you're going to like it. This, I think, is a little bit easier for non-gamers to get into, or even gamers that are trying to get in for the Race for the Galaxy series. Jump Drive is probably the one I would start with first, just because it's 20 minutes or so. This one I said is a little bit more than an hour. Roll probably about the same, maybe a little bit longer, just because it takes people a little bit longer to decide what they want to do with their dice, I think. But really enjoy this. Can't recommend this enough. So that is New Frontiers. If you like a copy of your own, go out to Miniature Market. Use the link that is in the show notes, because that will let them know that you came from Dad versus Daughter. So we will catch you guys next time. If you would like to support us, you can visit patreon.com/dadvdaughter.
Like and follow us on Facebook to stay current on our show schedule, sneak peeks at future shows, and to interact with us.